Let's get started. So welcome everyone to today's user or Spark user drop-in. We're looking at a new feature, so it's quite exciting doing these ones because it's often the first time a lot of you will have seen what we're about to show you. It's an extension of activity types. So I was just going to do a little recap of that. So what we'll do is we'll look at what we're talking about. We'll look at the practicalities of how to set it up, and we'll have a look at an example, and then a bit of more of a discussion, I would suggest, and about why and the like. Yeah, we release features. Obviously, that's this some of it. Sometimes it's off the request of customers. Other times it's us just adding stuff to the platform as we see fit. So actually getting your feedback, how you might use it. Do you see it as valuable? And some of that'd be great. So anyone who attends my user drop-ins, I do like to ask you a few questions, so do be ready. You can always shout out, come off mute, or put it in the chat as we go through, but please do engage, because this is a drop-in session. Yeah, this isn't a presentation. This is your time, your chance to shout, ask questions, come up with ideas, and you've got me and some of the other team here listening. So so input output types. In brackets, Y boxes. Those that have been with us for a little while will know we've recently changed the name from Y boxes to input and output, be more prescriptive. But yeah, just to tie into the previous name. So basically, if we look at what we've got here, let me just go to edit mode. As I said before, it's a progression on from activity types. Okay, so if you haven't seen activity types, both of these are settings that you have to set on for the workspace. So if you're clicking in your workspace now and you don't see what I'm showing you, that is why. But if I double click on the activity, I can't remember, when did we release activity types? It was a month or so ago, was it? It's relevant.
Yeah, around that time, or maybe just a bit before that. Yeah.
A little longer. We have run a drop-in session on it, so again, you probably will have seen it. But I just want to recap where you can have your decision box, and it might be you have a conductor go, no go, bid decision. It might be a good step, and you can see what we have here because it's switched on. We can set what activity type this is. Yeah, so you can see actually I can say this is a meeting. When I come back and hit on the canvas, it's got a little logo, and it will appear in reporting and the like. Yeah, so completely optional. Some customers switched on straight away; they love it. Others still working out how they use it or if they need to use it. So it adds another layer. So as was always the plan, we just wanted to ease the audience into it. We've done the same for inputs and outputs. Yeah. And so before I show you that, what is very typical, in fact, let's create a new input. You might have, so this is the start of the process. Crikey, my demo brain's not over intuitive. And people would use our icons. So if you haven't seen icons, you can again just you can see we've got the little links down here. You can add icon and you can start to put select down here, yeah, and you can go. Yeah, I'll go on a dot again, just do there, and you add the icon. Really useful. Yeah, so a lot of customers would use that. It's a nice little visual aid, but that's all it was. Yeah, so you wouldn't appear in reports. It's not predefined. Anyone could add from that whole list of icons. So what we've done, if I just delete this one out, is added the input output types. So what you see here, yeah, this is an input, as you would know. And when we can say, look, we've got a start, we've got a handover. So that the list on the right you're seeing on the screen there is the default types that will appear when you switch it on. Yeah, so you can see we've got the start, handover, integration, end positive, end failure, or end negative, really. Yeah. So and as you said, as you can see here, actually that's not an end. We'll put there's a start. Let's put in there. You add the icon on there. This is the input. So very similar to the icons. But as you see as we go through, that you're then getting started to look at the reporting, and we can start to do some clever stuff around that. Yeah. So that's the basic functionality. If we come back up the top, how do you set it up? Well, it's I think I've already said it's an admin. I need to come out of mode to launch my link, which I pre-populated. So not everyone would have access to this. Yeah, so you do need to be the workspace admin. If you're lucky enough to own your own workspace, then you've got the power. But you probably want to still do it in conjunction with a sort of a rollout or a planning. If you've got defined standards, for example, that you communicate with your editing audience, actually how do you want to use it and the like. But if I scroll down on the left here, if I click on activity types, you'll see both. So I can enable activity type, I can enable input output types. Yeah, so both are on for me. So again, there's a decision that has to be made. And then you've got the activity types and the input types, as I alluded to earlier. And you can edit these. Yeah, so actually, if I said I want to end positive outcome and end failure outcome, I don't like the failure outcome text. I might come and say a negative outcome. Yeah, and I can define the red. I can change the icon with the basic functionality in Spark. Hit save, and that's done. And I can add new ones in here. Yeah, so that's how you set it up. If I jump back to my main drop-in process, and we can then look at an example. Yeah, so picked up a random process from my demo library, and we can see here. So some of it will be quite obvious. So we can say employees fairly awarded. I could say that's my start point. Yeah, and again, I might have other bits in here, but you can see we've got other inputs which aren't start points. The retirement calendar is a introduction in here. I can come in and look at some of the outputs. We can say actually contract extended, confirmation sent. Well, I'm going to say that's a positive outcome. Yeah, brilliant. And again, we can go through and we can say actually it says failure outcome. I need to refresh my page, and it will pick up the right text. In fact, let's do that. Not that I'm picky about things. You can see there it's got end negative outcome as we updated in the instance. The other point is not just about inputs and outputs that are on the outskirts of the process. You can see here we've got an employee and we've got a line manager. So again, I would suggest that is a handover point. Yeah. So I can see here we've got an handover point. Again, it's about giving that little visual cue, but when we look at the reporting, you'll see what that can do. Make sense, everyone? You can see how they maybe use that in your processes. So it's not making it mandatory. We're not saying every input output has to have a type, but there are instances where this becomes desirable. Yeah. Cool. Thanks, Chris. So it's not complicated. Yeah, it really isn't. I think it would take longer for you to sit down with your teams to say, is this something we want to use? How do we want to use it? Than it is to implement it. And again, you want to train people if you are going to do that. So why would we look at switching on input output types in our workspaces? It adds that level of clarity. Yeah, again, define clarity, but again, the overarching objective in Spark is to create processes that are easy to understand, easy to input and get feedback on. So adding that structured way of adding icons and having reporting is key here. So it adds that extra layer of information for the end users that may or may not find that useful. The other one is the analysis. Yeah. So as you would expect in Spark, it's been integrated into the business tools. So if I come down and click on business tools, look at the analytics, for example, we've now got another section in here because we switched it on in our admin type. So we can see here we've got activity types. Yes, we've only got one meeting in this process because that's the one I updated there, and we can start to look at the input types. So we can see we've got 2 start points. We've got one positive outcome, one negative outcome, and if I refresh my page, it would have the handover point on there as well. So you start to see that appearing in your business tool reports as another dimension. And I alluded to the improvement. Actually, what do we mean? Why do we want to do that? Because it then starts to help you answer some of the questions. And this is just a selection. But does every process have a start and end point? Is that something you even want to measure? But you can start to look at that in your reporting. Handovers, yeah, a lot of processes will be handover heavy, and that's fine. And then others might surprise you. But being able to look at an end-to-end flow and think, well, actually, there's only 20 steps in here, but we've got 10 handover points. That's probably not the most optimal process, or a risky process, and you want to go and look at it. That's the sort of thing you can now pick out from your analysis reports quite easily. In fact, I duplicated out the question and didn't change it. There you go. That's how important that question is, because it's probably worth asking twice. Or were we expecting so many negative outcomes? If you're mapping customer journeys or your customer engagement processes, why are we so focused on the negatives? How do we stop them becoming a negative output? And then you could look at how you add steps or negate steps which give you that negative output.